spoke about the sex scenes a lot because in the script it would say they have sex, and so we're like, okay, well, what would that look like? And so we would talk about different positions, and Samantha Kwan and Sean would demonstrate before what they would want it to look like. So this position or that position, and
she's my producer and wife.
So you see the shooting schedule in front of you. What day do you have circled in terms of I can't wait to film this? And what day do you have circled in terms of how the F are we going to film this?
I'm always pushing everything back in terms of, because I want more time to prep. So I'm never like, I can't wait. So that first part is not relevant to the way I make films, but to see some of those scenes that I was worried about capturing, being, completely just mastered by these wonderful actors who just. Yeah, I'm so sorry. What the fuck am I talking about? This happens first in the morning every time. Yeah,
it's our first interview of the day.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about this as someone that's been a fan of your entire filmography. Is you've done this incredible thing where you will take marginalized people, a lot of them working in and around the sex industry, and you will give them a sort of everyday man hero moment, and it's sort of the ordinariness of these folks that I find to be the most cinematic and interesting about what you do. And I'm curious, has that always been your approach, or was it spending time with these people that influenced that? And
I think so. It's about time. And you really have to spend the time to, no matter who you're focusing on, whether it's a microcosm or a subculture or whatever, spending time to understand, hear their stories. You've absorbed enough that you are confident that your representation will be respectful, and that involves a lot. Consultants, becoming friends, and so in this case, I remember actually I'll be very brief, but with my first film about sex work called Starlet back in 2012. What really sparked that was I was on the set of a television show, and there was a cameo by an adult film star, and at one moment I overheard her say to her friend, "Oh, damn, I left my laundry in the washer. I forgot to put it in the dryer. It's going to be sour when I get home." And I'm like, that's the most everyday thing. That happens to everybody. Everybody has to deal with one of those days. And when she said that, I was like, that's so, I want to work that into a film, because that again is what makes somebody human. It grounds somebody, and it allows audiences to connect and see themselves in those little life moments, right? And I think that's what started it. And I brought that on to every film since.
When did the three of you realize, oh, wait a minute, this might be something special?
I think that we are inside the film. We don't know what it is. You can tell us what it is, because we are just drive this film inside the car.
What do you hope that audiences take away from this? Because again, I just look at the details in which you wrote these folks. I hope that this one, it hits a little bit different than some of your other ones as far as what I think you're hoping audiences take from it.
Oh, well, thank you. I never want to preach. I feel that's when you do that, you're basically alienating people who might not be on the same page or agree. Well, I'm trying to tell these individual stories. And with Annie's story, Annie feels like hopefully, a fully fleshed out, three-dimensional character that, you guys can root for and have empathy for. And I think that is, if there's a goal behind these films, I think it's to help chip away at the very unfair stigma that's applied to sex work. Through these fleshed out characters, hopefully we are achieving that.
I want to ask, what was some of that preparation work? Because I know you talked to sex workers and strippers, but also wanted to have it be that these are people that are just people too. This is a job, this is a profession, and they go home and discover that there's no milk in the fridge. And so I was curious about what that process was like for you.
Yeah, it was amazing meeting our consultants, who were very generous, sharing stories with me, and just giving me their time to let me pick their brain about what their job is like, so that I could know all of the nuances of what it's like to work in a club, how it feels to dance, give a lap dance, all of those things. And then also just, speaking about their personal life. So I read memoirs, watched documentaries. I really feel like I did my due diligence and learned as much as I could about sex sex work so that I could take the things that resonated with me within the character and sort of like move off of that. It was important that we were not telling a universal sex worker story. It's just one person. And so I wanted it to be specific to her story because I think everyone's experience is different.
Very entertaining thrill ride, very funny, very engaging, but it's also about solidarity or the lack thereof between people, where your character and then this very funny group of men come in to deal with this crisis. And as they're facing it down, I kept watching it thinking, you all have more in common than you realize. You're all workers. You're all trying to survive in this world. And so I was curious, when you look back on this film and when you watch it now, what do you think about when it comes to solidarity between people and that kind of emotional bond that either is there or isn't?
It's interesting what you said about them in some ways being the same, and yet they look down on Annie because of her occupation, which is so common. But yeah, I think that specifically between Igor and Annie, even if Annie is ignoring it, she can feel his eyes on her, and that there is some kind of connection of them being very similar, even though she would probably not say that. So I think that there, in some ways, at least from an audience perspective, there's solidarity there, or at least an understanding that they are kind of the same.
And that becomes the heart of the film. Without giving too much away, it really kind of comes into the forefront in very interesting ways.
Yeah, I think that relationship between those two characters is very interesting. And there's so many, towards the end of the film, there's so many different characters in one scene at a time. And you're focusing on one person, but then when you look to the left, you can see some sort of interesting scenario that's happening with Igor and Annie. Like maybe he looks at her and then looks down, and she looks back at him and looks down. And so there's lots of different layers with that. Also, the way that Yura plays the character is very charming and earnest and sort of innocent in a lot of ways, and so that was very disarming for me as an actor to see his approach to the character. Yura, he's so soulful and funny and sweet. Like, he was constantly taking care of me on set. Like, I twisted my ankle and he would be like wrapping it or icing it, and I broke my acrylic nail off with the real nail underneath during one of the fight scenes, and so he carried a bottle of like medical glue in his pocket and was like gluing it on every morning and night. I always felt that he was there, like protecting me in some way, which I think probably was...
It was meta.
I think that it was a specific choice on his end. I just didn't realize it at the time. Yeah, he works in a very different way than I do, but he really immerses himself in the character and the world in a way that I don't think I realized until we were done filming.
Again, morning, these 7 or 8 days, Sean in the morning. Okay, guys, we change everything again. And let's do another way. Okay, guy. What does we have to do? Yeah, let's try this. Yeah. We do this, okay. And Mikey, she's super professional because she turned on like 1 second because I need some time for preparation. I thinking. I try to understand. Okay, we going this and this. And Mikey, yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, we can start. Yeah, start. Ah! And she started, and I just okay, yes, I'm in. This is my experience during these 7 or 8 days.
It was a huge mansion, but you could hear her screaming in every corner of the entire home, and you would have like
Mark was taking a nap during some of those scenes. I was like, you were here the whole time while we were filming these crazy scenes? He was like, yeah, I was sleeping upstairs.
Yeah, and we had some of our crew on the other side of the house hearing it and being very disturbed by it, and I was like, okay, it's working.